From the EPR Creation Studio, this is Doc Staples bringing you Unconquered with Doc Staples. Hot Takes Edition after Florida State finds a way to gag away another one on the road, this time in Raleigh, which continues to be a house of horrors for the Seminoles. 21-11 in just a remarkable game. Well, first of all, I want to go ahead and thank my sponsors, EPR Creations, bringing you the best of internet marketing and website development for an affordable price. Luis Marquez of Momentum Realty in Jacksonville, Florida. And Garage Makeovers, the number one garage remodeling company in South Florida. And then Shenandoah Newsma of shenrealestate.com in the Research Triangle of North Carolina. And guys, I mean, I don't really know what to tell you. I'm not going to go too long on this. I mean, as you all know, if you listen to the preview, I'm on the road at present recording this from the hotel room, and it's late after this game. But guys, this is, I'm at a loss because I really thought Florida State had found every possible way to choke away a team, or to choke away a win, that is, to find a way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. I thought they had exhausted their options. I thought they had gotten to the place where they had run out of ways to self-sabotage. But I was completely wrong. Their capacity to self-sabotage continues to just amaze. I mean, this was a game where if you look, this is yet another game this year where if you look at the actual numbers, if you tried to reverse engineer the score from these numbers, you'd go, what? Florida State, 383 total yards to NC State, 286. A large edge in yards per play, 5.8 yards per play to 4.2 yards per play. And by the way, giving up 4.2 yards per play to that NC State team is pretty good. But, and running the ball, 5.3 yards per play to 3.2. I mean, everything basically on what you would expect. And yet, you lose by 10. Why? Well, I mean, yes, technically 4 turnovers, but the last one's intercepted Hail Mary in the last play of the game, so, can kind of throw that out. But 3 turnovers. And the wild thing is, the final 2, that you finally got your offense untracked to where they got out of their way enough to catch the football, to throw the ball on time and on target. Well, not quite on time, but not quite on target, but close enough to be able to score. And then your defense gets another stop, and an absolutely awful punt winds up bouncing off a helmet and then being recovered by NC State. Then your defense gets another stop. They gut this out. They get another stop, and you get an opportunity to catch the punt, and Squirrel White puts it on the ground. So you have turnovers on consecutive punt returns in the fourth quarter, down by 3, with a chance to win the game if you just don't muff a punt, or if you don't have a punt go off of one of your blockers. If you had just lined up with nobody back there to catch it, if you just determined we're not going to get anywhere near it, you might win this game. A game that really on the scoreboard or on the stats, you really were in position to win. And look, if you want to just play through the third quarter when it was 14-3, yards per play, it was 5.2 to 5.1. So that's an even game. That should have been, let's say, 14 all or 14-10. 5.1 to 5.2 yards per play. And then in the fourth quarter, the defense finally stepped up 1.9 yards per play as NC State's trying to run it out, and the defense steps up and makes plays. Thing is, you also had an opportunity. Not only did you drop that punt, but you also had an opportunity where you have both hands on a very catchable interception, Edwin Joseph, and he drops it. This team just, every time they get an opportunity to make a winning play, it's like they suddenly just pee down their leg, and it's like the dog that's been kicked a few times, and then, you kind of look at it when it needs to go outside, and, it knows that it's not supposed to pee on the floor, but it knows also that it's afraid of discipline or something. Something's happened. And as soon as it thinks about that, it just pees right on the floor, even though it's trying really hard. And you feel bad for the dog. You really do. You feel bad for it. You look at it and you're like, oh man, Fido's just struggling. Like, you know how dogs, you can just look at their face and it's like he's trying, but there's just something wrong. It's not all happening. And that's this team, man. This is a team that has found every possible way. Well, I thought coming into this game that they'd found every possible way, but this is an inventive bunch. Don't count them out next week against Florida for yet another demonstration, another clinic in how to urinate away a game that you really should have won, a very winnable game. A game where you looked like the better team for most of that game. You moved the football. When it came time to do it, you got key stops. You won some up front. But when it came time to actually make the key plays, Edwin Joseph drops the interception. You have the returner doesn't get the Peter call out quickly enough to clear his guys, and that's completely on the returner, by the way. KJ Kirkland is going to get blamed by a bunch of people for having the ball hit his helmet, but he doesn't know where it is. He can't see it. The only guy out there on the return team who knows where the ball is the returner, and it is the returner's job to, first of all, to run up and catch the ball, and second of all, on something that's really a bad punt like that, to make an absolute scene, to go berserk to get those guys cleared out of where it's going to be landing. You can't just, wait as long as he did, and then Peter, and point. You have to run toward it and clear those guys out. It's an emergency. The lack of urgency there from Squirrel White is why that one happened. And then you get a play where ball just gets muffed. So you get 3 opportunities to make a play to put yourself in position to win. And again, the interception is probably the one that's the most obvious. You got both hands on it. That's a play to potentially win the game. The other ones are plays, just don't lose it. But you flub all 3 of those, and then when it comes time for winning time, NC State goes for it on 4th and 6 from inside the 20, and you get tight end Justin Jolie, who makes the play. And he had to go out and make it. Shamar Arnew was in position to make the play, got his hand on the football, but Jolie went out and snatched it, and he grabbed the win. That's how this works. You have to, at some point, you've got to make a play to go out and win a game. And this team, against Alabama, this team had that play. That was the Squirrel White laid out catch, 40-plus yard play on 3rd down. They made that play, and that changed that game, and they went on and won that game. There are a couple others, and there are a couple where Alabama just didn't make the plays. But since then, when it's been time to make a play to win the game, or just not to lose it, this team just, it's like they need an exorcist or something. They need someone to come in and exorcise the demons, because this team is not clean. I'm like I said, I'm at a loss. I also really don't understand certain things. I still don't really understand the specific rotation of running backs. Yeah, I mean, I don't get it. I don't get certain things. But, this is what happens when you live that much on the margins. And, I've been texting with some other people since the game. And, one of the things that comes up here is that why is this team so snake bit? Why is it that they can't get out of their way in these key moments? And I think a big part of it is that this team is trying so hard in those key plays, and they're trying. It's the, don't blow it, don't blow it, don't blow it, don't blow it. Oh, I just blew it. There's so much of that this team really wants to make the play, and they just don't play loose. They don't play with confidence. And I think a big part of that is because they're constantly playing on the margins, and you've got to find ways to get off the margins. And the reason that they're playing on the margins, despite being able to run the football pretty well, 5.3 yards per carry is fine. Now, some of that was a good rushing output from Tommy Castellanos. But a big part of this is just that they are not good enough passing the football. The consistency that you need to have passing the football to be a consistent team in college football, unless you're going to be, a true military academy style run offense, and they're not quite that. The consistency that you've got to have there just isn't good enough. It's not there. They had multiple opportunities. You go back to the first two drives. They had multiple opportunities to come down with big plays down the field. Receivers running open, and the ball is late. It's underthrown, and then they have to come back to it. They go up. Each of them gets their hands on it, and then it just they don't finish the catch. End of drive in each case. Those weren't the last plays of those drives, but it was end of drive. So instead of getting down into at least easy field goal range, you're punting. And, those guys are running free. And those should be on time and should be pretty automatic throws. But and you say, well, they were in the receiver's hands. Yes, but they're way late, and they're taking them back into the contact. It's a hard catch. And those are hard catches on plays that really should be easy. And that's really where, this team is a quarterback away. But at the end of the day, you've got to be able to get quarterbacks on campus. You've got to be able to get those guys who are going to be difference makers at that position. And they just don't have those guys. They don't have one. Castellanos is what we thought he would be at the beginning of the season. You go back and you listen to my to my season previews and what I thought his strengths and weaknesses were and what my concerns were coming into the year. He's hit all the concerns, basically, except for one, and that was how he would respond with adversity. And I think he's actually responded well. He's taken ownership. He's done all that. He's just not good enough. He's not a good enough passer, not consistent enough. And those were the concerns. You're taking him to be able to run the football and, hopefully hit some shots downfield. But, if you're going to be late on those shots, you better have a cannon. And if you don't have a cannon, you better be able to throw it on time. And he's just consistently late on those, and it costs him. But you look at Deuce Robinson, 12 targets, 4 catches. That's just not enough. 33% catch rate. Now, some of that's on him. He had a couple drops. Key drop right at the end there that led to the field goal attempt that was way to the right on the long 54-yarder. That's on him. You got to catch that. You're a franchise type guy. You think you're an NFL, a legit NFL receiver. You got to make those catches, and he's had a number of those this year where he's had those little bobbles. He's had just plays where he hasn't finished, and in 2 of those games, if he makes that, if he finishes in some of those cases where he's been in position to finish, probably win those. It might be 3 games here that's the difference. And again, you're talking about the margins. And you're playing on those margins because you're not putting a a good enough quarterback out there. I mean, you put Jameis Winston on this team, and this team's undefeated, playing for the national title. It's real simple. And I know everybody's like, well, if. That's the point, is you've got to get those guys on campus. You've got to get a quarterback like that. Even if it's not a Jameis, if this is a Jake Coker back there on offense, they're probably going to be 11-1, maybe 10-2. If this team has a Chandler Morris, if he's able to stay healthy, this is probably a 10-2 team, maybe better. If this team has a Jordan Travis, the way Jordan Travis played in, say, 2022, 2023, this team's no worse than 2 losses and probably better than that. But ultimately, since Jordan Travis's injury, this is what the offense has looked like. You get some explosions here and there. You didn't get very many explosions in 2024. You get some explosions here and there, but mostly this, and it's because the quarterback position just isn't good enough. You've got to be able to make those throws down the field and put the ball on the money with more consistency than what Florida State's been able to do. Because it's the inconsistency that keeps you on the margins. That's what that's really all about. Well, there's really not a whole lot more for me to say here. I don't want to belabor this. I don't want to spend a whole lot more time on this turd trying to polish it or do anything else. I just think, it is what it is, guys. And, looking at the numbers, this was well within the expectation level. I mean, I as I mentioned at the end of the last one, I talked myself into it in terms of thinking that Florida State might be able to get off the snide on that in terms of the road woes and the problems in Raleigh and all that. But, I just underestimated the degree of demonic oppression that this team seems to be struggling with. Somebody's got to get these guys an Exorcist stat.
If you've been enjoying this podcast, please leave a 5-star rating over at Apple Podcasts and wherever else you listen to podcasts. Post and repost episodes on social media and tell a friend. And if you haven't left a review in a while, do it again. It really does help the visibility of the podcast. Before we go, I'd also like to thank my advertising partners once more. That's EPR Creations, Luis Marquez of Momentum Realty in Jacksonville, Florida, Shenandoah Real Estate in the Research Triangle of North Carolina, Garage Makeovers, the #1 garage remodeling company in South Florida, and Justin Galloway of Benchmark Mortgage, serving Florida, Tennessee, and Kentucky. You can also stop by the Unconquered Shop at unconqueredpodcast.com, where you can buy stickers, pins, magnets, t-shirts, and other swag. I am especially grateful for those of you at the Dynasty level. That is Brian Leininger, Dave Blair, Jack Horton, Jonathan Kennedy, Lee Caswell, Travis Smith, and Tyler Kashishki. You all are far more generous than I deserve. Thanks to you all. This has been Unconquered with Doc Staples. I'm your host, Jason Staples. Thanks for listening, and thanks for your support. I made this.